Krishna. Narayana. Sarvavigneswaram Nama Krishna Vasudevam Nama Devim Saraswatim Nama Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarudini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavadu Me Sita Mogam Karodi Vachalam Pankum Langayadingirim Yatkripādamaham Vande Paramasiva First of all, let me welcome to the Geethamrutham-Classes. Through this Geethamrutham banner, you have an opportunity to learn Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Sahasranamam, Narayaneeyam, Ramayanam, etc. The classes are not mainly for just reciting that slogas, but each sloga is explained in detail. And of course, in between, there will be some of the anecdotes which is coming in and also some of the interesting stories from our Purana. And how do we use this for our day-to-day enlightenment? So the idea is not just to tell you how to recite and within 2 months or 3 months finish the class. No. Our class goes into deep. So you need to be very, very patient to go through the classes and understand the things. Happiness is guaranteed. So this being many requests which has come from people, Sajjana, the people who are interested in knowing, after seeing some of my postings, of course they are in Malayalam, so they requested me, sir, can you post the Gita classes in English? Pranamam to all of them. So that is the beginning. So in this first class of Bhagavad Gita, we will have a quick look onto a little background of Bhagavad Gita. And why should we learn Bhagavad Gita in nutshell? I'm not going to go into the deep. In case any one of you are further interested to know or to join the online classes, I have shown you the WhatsApp number there. My email ID of the administration is given there. So send me a message or send me a WhatsApp message. Thereafter, I will look into it. You have to give me your name, place, preferably the age and what work you are doing, and send it to me. And then we will meet on the online class, normally done through Zoom or Google Meet. So now what we are going to take is a quick look onto the Bhagavad Gita. So once again, I welcome all of you into this Bhagavad Gita classes. Normally, how do we begin the class? Or how do we begin a good thing? That is always done by giving our pranamam to Lord Ganapati, Ganesha, Namaskaram. So let us also start with a small Ganesha Namaskaram. Om Vigneshwaraya Nama Mudakarattamodagam Sada Vimukti Sadakam Kaladharavatamsakam Vilasi Yogarakshakam Anayakaiganayakam Vinashite Badhaitakam Natashubhashunashakam Namamitam Vinashayam Namamitam Vinayakam Mudakarattamodagam Sada Vimukti Sadagam Kaladharavatamsagam Vilasi Logarakshakam Anayakaiganayakam Vinashite Badhaityakam Natashubhashunashakam Namamitam Vinayakam. In case you don't have this small nama, just send me a small message. I will post it for you. Of course, I may have to convert it into English and also how to recite that. Both I will combine together and post it to you. So actually talking about yesterday, when we started about this Gita, I told you in the class that Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, the great Indian epic. So from there, some portion is taken and about 650 slokas are converted into Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of Krishna, the values of life. And it goes through 18 chapters. 18 is a important number in Hindu dharma. You might have heard about the 18 steps we have got before we meet Lord Ayyappa. That 18 steps, there are many such 18 important values coming into our dharma. We will discuss all these things as we go across in the class slowly and slowly. So the first chapter is actually called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna is the one of the Pandavas who is efficient in bow and arrow. So he is the main person in Bhagavad Gita to whom Krishna is going to give all this specific life sciences. There is a reason also coming over there why it is called as Arjuna Vishada. Vishada means mental disturbance. So that is the first chapter wherein you have to create a scene, you have to create a stage before we are going to talk about Bhagavad Gita, and that is what exactly being done in the first chapter. So there, probably you may know about the enmity between the Kaurava and the Pandava, and then they finally land up onto the land dispute, rule dispute, even going to that existence of existence. So they finally end up into fighting for the dharma. That is why the Kurukshetra Yuddha is called as Dharma Yuddha. Fight for dharma. Dharma is what we call as a rightfulness. So there, the description goes in the first chapter, how both the team, how the soldiers are placed, who are all their leaders, and how their leaders are getting ready, and how they are declaring the starting of the fight, the Yuddha. It is at that time Arjuna talks to Krishna. Krishna is now as a charioteer of Arjuna's chariot. There is a story behind that also. We will talk about all the stories little later. Even some of that areas where this enmity came in and what all things happened in the big epic of Mahabharata. So here, Arjuna tells Krishna about his desire to see who are all standing in the Kaurava group fighting against Pandava. So Krishna readily agrees. Krishna has got a reason also for that. That is another story. I will come back as we go across. You will hear plenty of stories, plenty of other important elements which is required to keep ourselves happy. So now Krishna takes the chariot and places in between the two armies and then tells specifically to Arjuna, look Arjuna, look at your teachers standing there. See how nicely Lord Krishna brings the scene, the stage to tell him Bhagavad Gita, for which you can't tell Bhagavad Gita to a person who are ready to fight and started fighting. No. So we'll have to create that stage there. So, and he specifically uses the word, look at your gurus, the teachers. So Arjuna looks at them and his mind gets disturbed. So it is called Arjuna Vishada. What is the result of that? Arjuna puts the bow and arrow. He was ready to fight, you remember? So he puts the bow and arrow onto the chariot and sits. His head became heavy. He had to support it with his hand, and he was full of sorrow inside. And that gives Krishna to give him the management science of life. That is talking about the first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Then the next 17 chapters talks about the big science. The modern science has not even reached to 10% of that. The second chapter onwards, it starts talking about Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, etc., etc. We will see all these chapters in detail. And after that only, he makes Arjuna, now Arjuna, you know these details. Now you are ready to take a decision. Look at how Krishna is saying. Krishna is not ordering Arjuna, go ahead and fight. Krishna says, now you know what is right, what is wrong. You take a decision. I am not telling it. That is the true teacher, true guru. That is what the role of Sri Krishna in Kurukshetra. So before we start into the talk of Bhagavad Gita, there are few things which you should know before we start the Gita. First and foremost, why is this Gita starting? I gave you a small area. Second, we should know who are all coming up in Bhagavad Gita or the main portions. I will tell you about all this as we go across. Third, we should know what is the importance of Gita. That is called Gita Mahatmyam, the highest value of understanding Gita. That as we go across, according to the chapters, there are many stories which makes you understand what is the importance of Gita and specifically to that chapter. So now as you go across the Gita, we are going to see a separate rupa, a separate view of Krishna. When somebody is going to talk about Krishna, Lord Krishna, you will have a mental picture. Kanjil Kanjana Kanjila Anjitala Satpidambara Lambani. So says Melpatur Bhattadripada in one of the most important Kavya Grantha called Narayaneeyam. There he is talking about Bhagavan as if shining in everything. Lot of alankara, lot of dressing onto him, lot of gold ornaments, diamonds, and in yellow colored silk dress. We are not going to see that beautiful figure in Bhagavad Gita. Nor it is going to be Pidambaram Karavirajata Shanka Chakra Kaumodagi Sarasijam Karuna Samudram Radha Sahayamadi Sundaramandahasam Vadalaye Shamanisham Pridivavayami. There it says, starting with silk dress, with all his hands holding each one of the tools for fight, lot of garlands, beautifully smiling, standing close to Radha, his close friend during childhood. No, this is not what you are going to see in Bhagavad Gita. Let me tell you at this stage, there is a beautiful description about Lord Krishna, how he is seen in the Kurukshetra field. That description is given by Bhishma Pitamaha. As we go across, I will also tell you about that. But here in Bhagavad Gita, you are going to see him as a charioteer. He holds the whip in one hand. He holds the reins of the horses in the other hand, and then stands like a charioteer. That is where he holds the position of the teacher of Arjuna, the closest friend of Arjuna, and a person who is going to bring back Arjuna from his Vishada Roga disease. So he works like a, we can't say as consultant, he is actually a guru, tells him what is good and what is bad, and also remains as a true friend of Arjuna. And that is why we are saying that Bhagavad Gita is an absolute fortune, a treasure which has been given to each one of our Bharatiya. You will never get such a present from anywhere. That is why in almost all foreign university libraries, all eminent people, they always have a Bhagavad Gita and they refer to it. Bhagavad Gita is one of the books which has been translated into many languages. And that is why the eminent poet of Kerala, Melpatur Bhattacharya, says, Evam durlabhya vastunna visulabhataya astalabdeyatanyat. This is a fortune, a golden pot given to you in your hand. Not that everybody is going to get that. So accept that as a beautiful gift which has been given to you. And everyone should read this book. I'm just saying book, but it is a treasure. Every chapter before it starts talks about the value of the chapter through some beautiful stories. I will keep telling you as the chapter begins, but here just to tell you as one example, the chapter 4 is supposed to be read by all girls, which will give them happiness, prosperity, and good life. They must read the chapter 4. Not only for the girls, actually, the Bhagavad Gita should be taught, not read alone, taught to every children. At their childhood, they should be taught, not just reciting that poems or slokas, but tell them about some meaning. They may not find it so easy at that time, but as the time progresses, as they start becoming the real fighter in this life, then they will realize, oh, these are some of the values which I can use it now. And that is why most of the foreign universities do teach Bhagavad Gita as part of their management sciences. I was taking my postgraduate degree from World Maritime University in Sweden, to be specific, Malmo, where I was to stay for 2 years. So I had some good time because there existed one Krishna Bhakti group. So they used to meet almost every Sunday, Hare Krishna group. So being an Indian, they used to give me some respect because I'm coming from the land of Krishna. And they used to tell almost every time, tell us something about Krishna, tell us a story of Krishna. And I used to tell them some of the stories at that time. I was very happy to share the wealth of this beautiful Grantha, Bhagavad Gita, to them. So now I am fortunate to give it to you further as a study class. So let us enter into a short introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is coming in the 6th Parva. Parva is chapter, you can consider. The chapter's name is called Bhishma Parva. Bhishma and all, you will start learning slowly. And it is written by a great saint called Vyasa. So before we start that Bhagavad Gita, we always chant in respect of that great saint Vyasa and his, what do you call, the relationships of his father, and so and so. What we call as parampara, dynasty of Vyasa. Vyasa is supposed to be a reincarnation of Lord Vishnu himself. So let us talk about that small prayer. As I told you before, in case you don't have that prayer there in English, please let me know. I will post it with the lyrics in English and saying it in Sanskrit. Om Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatadam Taponitim. I will recite it once more. Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatadam Taponitim. It's very nice how his entire dynasty is written through 2 lines. I will just very shortly tell you what it is. From the great Rishi Shaktan. Vyasan is the grandson of Shaktan. Shaktan in turn is the son of Vasishta Muni. We will get to know about some of these names as we go progress. So therefore, Vyasan is the son of Vasishta. You can write down and then make out a family chart. And that Vyasan is called as Shakte Pautrama Kalmasham. Akalmasham. Kalmasham means sin. Akalmasham means the person who don't have any sin. So therefore he becomes pure, pavitra. And at the same time, it also goes into the family tree that he is the Atmajan, Parasharatmajam. Parashara Rishi, his son. So Parasharatmajam means son of Rishi Parashara. Now Vyasa has got another son. And he is called as Shuka. Shuka Muni. That is where it starts talking about Shukatadam. So he is also a great saint who had actually recited Bhagavata at the river banks of And that Bhagavata itself is a huge volume of descriptions of Lord Krishna and various other things, from where you can learn again lot of good things. Bhagavad Gita gives you a condensed version of that. So that is the starting of Bhagavad Gita for us. I will talk to you about the family tree of this Veda Vyasa probably in the next class, so that you will be sure, because we will keep on hearing these names. So what I would suggest is take a notebook and write down all these names and then connect it up where they are coming in. Make 2 columns or 3 columns. In first column, you write the name. Next column, you write the relationship. Third column, you can put your own notes. So it will become a valuable reference book for you later. So with this small introduction today, let me conclude today's talk to you on Bhagavad Gita. Wishing you, as well as all of us, the blessings of Lord Krishna. We conclude the first portion about the Bhagavad Gita chapter. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hari Om.